Jake wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled through another narrow maintenance tunnel. Being an engineer on the Titan station wasn't exactly the dream job he had imagined when he was studying back on Earth. Most days, he spent hours fixing broken pipes, checking air filters, making sure the giant mining machines kept running smoothly. But today felt different. Something was off. For the past 3 days, weird things had been happening around the station. Lights flickering in empty hallways. Strange sounds coming from the old sections that nobody used anymore. Computer systems shutting down for no reason. His boss kept saying it was just old equipment acting up, but Jake wasn't so sure. The Titan station was huge, bigger than most cities back home. It floated in the darkness of space, collecting valuable minerals from nearby asteroids. The station was busy with workers, but there were entire sections that had been sealed off years ago. When the company ran out of money to expand, Jake had always been curious about those empty areas. Today, his curiosity finally got the better of him. He checked his tablet one more time. The motion sensors in Section D7 had been going crazy all morning, then suddenly went completely silent. That wasn't normal. Motion sensors didn't just break. They either worked or they didn't. The entrance to Section D7 was supposed to be locked, but Jake had master codes for maintenance work. He punched in his access number and watched the heavy metal door slide open with a soft hiss. Cool air rushed out, carrying a strange smell he couldn't identify. The hallway beyond was dark except for the dim, emergency lights that ran along the floor. Jake turned on his flashlight and stepped inside. His footsteps echoed strangely, like the space was much bigger than it should be. He walked slowly, checking each room as he passed. Empty offices, storage areas filled with dust. Nothing unusual, but the deeper he went, the stronger that weird smell became. It reminded him of something electrical, also something organic, like the air after a thunderstorm mixed with flowers. Then he saw the light at the far end of the corridor. A soft blue glow was coming from one of the larger rooms. Jake turned off his flashlight and moved carefully toward it. His heart was beating faster now. There weren't supposed to be any power sources in this section. As he got closer, he could hear sounds, soft mechanical beeps, and what sounded like running water. He pressed himself against the wall and slowly looked around the corner. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. In the center of the room was some kind of vehicle he had never seen before. It was sleek and curved, like it had been grown, instead of built. The blue light was coming from panels along its sides that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. But that wasn't the most shocking part. Standing next to the vehicle was a figure. Unlike anything Jake had ever imagined, she was tall. Much taller than any human, with long, graceful limbs that moved in ways that seemed almost impossible. Her skin had patches that shimmered like oil on water, changing colors as she moved. But she wasn't completely alien. Her basic shape was human-like enough that Jake could tell she was female, though everything about her was more elegant and refined than any person he had ever seen. She was carefully removing pieces of what looked like armor or clothing. Each piece seemed to be alive somehow, responding to her touch and folding itself into compact shapes. As she removed each item, it revealed more of her unusual skin. She seemed to have patterns of light flowing just beneath the surface. Jake realized he was holding his breath. He had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. This was clearly not human, but she moved with such intelligence, purpose that he felt like he was watching something sacred. The being had some kind of device attached to her wrist that was making the soft beeping sounds. As she worked, she occasionally looked at it and made adjustments to whatever process she was going through. Jake got the impression that this was some kind of cleaning or preparation ritual. He was so focused on watching her that he didn't notice his tablet starting to beep softly in his pocket. The motion sensor warning he had forgotten to turn off. The sound was quiet. But in the silence of the abandoned section, it might as well have been a fire alarm. The alien woman froze instantly. Her head turned toward Jake's hiding spot with a speed that was definitely not human. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then she smiled. It wasn't a threatening expression. It wasn't entirely friendly either. It was the smile of someone who had been aware of being watched and had been waiting to see what the Watcher would do. Her eyes, which were larger than human eyes and seemed to shift color in the blue light, focused directly on Jake's position. She said something in a language that sounded like music mixed with static. When Jake didn't respond, she touched the device on her wrist and tried again. "You can come out now, I know you're there." The words were in perfect English, though her voice had a strange quality to it, like she was speaking through water. Jake's mind raced. Should he run? Should he call for security? Should he pretend this was all a dream? Instead, he found himself stepping slowly into the doorway, his hands raised to show he wasn't carrying any weapons. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "I didn't mean to spy. I was just checking the motion sensors and I saw the light and He trailed off, realizing how ridiculous he sounded. The alien woman studied him for a long moment. She had finished putting away her equipment and now stood in what appeared to be a simple but elegant outfit that seemed to shift and adjust itself to fit her perfectly. "You are the maintenance engineer for this station," she said. It wasn't a question. Jake nodded, not trusting his voice. "Good," she continued. "Then you might be able to help me. My name is difficult for your kind to pronounce, but you may call me Zara. I am here hunting someone very dangerous, and I believe he is somewhere on your station." Jake felt the world tilt slightly. Aliens. Multiple aliens. One of them dangerous. This was definitely not in his job description. "What kind of dangerous?" he managed to ask. Zara's expression became serious, and the lights under her skin seemed to pulse faster. "The kind that could destroy your entire station and everyone on it?" Jake's mouth went dry. "Destroy the station? What do you mean?" Zara moved closer, and Jake noticed that she didn't walk like humans did. Her steps were too smooth, too quiet, like she was floating just above the ground. When she was about 6 feet away, she stopped and touched the device on her wrist again. "Before I explain," she said, "I need to know something. Have you noticed any unusual problems on your station in the past few days? Equipment failures? Computer glitches? Things that don't make sense?" Jake's heart sank. "Yes, lots of them. My boss thinks it's just old machinery, but ... double quotes." He paused, studying her face. "We're saying someone is causing all those problems on purpose? Not someone? Something like me?" Zara's expression darkened. "His name is Keth, and he is what you might call a criminal among my people. 3 weeks ago, he stole technology that could be very dangerous if used wrong. We tracked him to this sector of space, and yesterday my ship's sensors detected him on your station." Jake tried to process this information. "Wait, hold on. Technology. What kind of technology?" Zara looked around the room as if checking to make sure they were still alone. Then she held up her hand, and Jake watched in amazement as the skin on her palm began to glow softly. Tiny symbols appeared in the light, moving and changing like a computer screen. "This is biointegration technology," she explained. "My people have learned to merge our biology with advanced computers and energy systems. What you saw me removing earlier was not just clothing, it was living armor that connects directly to my nervous system." "It's incredible," Jake whispered. "But you said this Keth person stole something dangerous?" "Yes, he stole a device that can control biointegration technology remotely. In the wrong hands, it could be used to take control of any advanced system, or even..." She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. "Or even take control of my people themselves." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "And you think he's somewhere on this station right now?" "I don't think. I know." Zara touched her wrist device again, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed a rough map of the station, with several areas highlighted in red. "These are the locations where your equipment has been failing. Do you see the pattern?" Jake studied the display. At first it just looked random, but then he began to notice something. "They're all near the main computer cores. And ... Wait." He looked closer. "These areas here, here, and here, they're all connected to the geological survey systems." "Exactly." Zara nodded approvingly. "Keth is not just hiding on your station. He's searching for something specific in your geological data. The question is, what? And why is it important enough for him to risk being caught?" Jake's mind was racing. As the main maintenance engineer, he knew the station's systems better than almost anyone. The geological surveys, we use those to find the best asteroids to mine. They contain detailed information about mineral compositions, locations, even estimates of how valuable different deposits might be. Show me, Zara said urgently. Can you access these systems from here? Jake looked. Around the empty room? Not from here, but there's a maintenance terminal down the hall that should be connected to the main network. He paused. But if this Keth is really as dangerous as you say, shouldn't we call security or evacuate the station? Zara shook her head. Your security forces would not be able to stop him. If we try to evacuate, he will simply disappear and try again somewhere else. The only way to stop him is to find him before he completes whatever he is planning. But why should I help you? Jake asked. I mean, no offense, but you're an alien who just told me there's another alien on my station who might blow it up. For all I know, you could be the dangerous one. It was a fair question, and Jake was surprised by his own courage in asking it. But Zara didn't seem offended. Instead, she smiled again, and this time it seemed more genuine. You are right to be suspicious, she said. In your position, I would ask the same question. She touched her wrist device, and suddenly the room filled with images, star maps, pictures of spacecraft, what looked like official documents covered in alien writing. This is my authorization from the Galactic Enforcement Council, she explained. I am what you might call a bounty hunter, but for criminals who threaten multiple worlds. Keth is wanted for crimes on 7 different planets. Jake stared at the floating images. Even if he couldn't read the alien text, there was something official about them. They reminded him of police badges or government IDs. Okay, he said slowly. Let's say I believe you. What exactly do you need me to do? I need someone who understands your station's layout and systems, Zara replied. Keth is clever, but he doesn't know your technology as well as you do. Together, we might be able to predict where he will go next and set a trap. Jake thought about this. It was crazy, completely insane actually. But the alternative was doing nothing while some alien criminal potentially destroyed his home and killed everyone on it. All right, he said finally. I'll help. But I have conditions. Zara raised an eyebrow. Conditions. First, no one gets hurt if we can avoid it. I'm not a soldier, and I don't want anyone dying because of something I did. Agreed. Second, if this gets too dangerous, I'm calling for backup, whether you like it or not. Reasonable? And third, ... double quotes. Jake hesitated, then forged ahead. I want to know what's really going on here. Not just about Keth, but about all of this. Aliens, space technology, galactic councils. If I'm risking my life, I deserve to know what. I'm getting into. Zara was quiet for a long moment, and she nodded slowly. Very well, but Jake... She used his name for the first time, and hearing it in her musical voice was strangely comforting. Once you know these things, your life will never be the same. Are you sure you want that? Jake looked around the empty room, thinking about his boring routine of fixing pipes and checking air filters. Then he looked back at Zara, with her shifting skin and impossible technology. Yeah, he said. Jake led Zara through the narrow maintenance corridors that ran behind the station's main walls. These passages were his world, cramped spaces filled with pipes, cables, and the constant hum of machinery.
Ow.
Knew these tunnels existed, Sway he whispered, pointing toward a junction ahead. The maintenance terminal is just around the corner. As they crawled through the tight space, Jake couldn't help but notice how gracefully Zara moved, even in such cramped conditions. Her tall frame should have made it impossible for her to navigate these tunnels, but somehow she flowed through them like water. Tell me about your people, Jake said quietly as they paused at an intersection. Where do you come from? Zara's eyes seemed to glow softly in the dim light. My world is very different from yours. We learned long ago that technology and biology work better together than apart. What you call machines, we call partners. Partners? The armor I was removing when you found me, it's not just metal and circuits. It's alive, in a way. It learns. For me, adapts to different situations, even helps me think faster. She touched the device on her wrist gently. This translator doesn't just change my words into your language. It helps me understand your emotions, your way of thinking. Jake stared at her. That's amazing, but also kind of scary. Why scary? Because... Why Jake struggled to put his feelings into words. Because if your technology is that advanced, what does that make us? Are we like insects to you? Zara stopped moving and looked directly at him. Jake, in the past hour, you have shown more courage and wisdom than many trained warriors I know. You asked the right questions, made reasonable demands, and chose to help despite your fear. Intelligence isn't about technology. It's about how you use what you have. They reached the maintenance terminal, and Jake quickly logged in with his access codes. The screen lit up, showing the station's main systems. Okay, he said, pulling up the geological survey data. This is everything we've collected in the past 6 months. It's mineral compositions, location coordinates, estimated values. He paused, scrolling through the information. Wait a minute, what is it? Look at this. Jake pointed to a series of entries that were highlighted in yellow. Someone has been accessing these files repeatedly over the past 3 days. But it's not random, they're only looking at surveys from one specific region. Zara leaned closer. To study the screen? Jake caught that strange smell again, like flowers after rain mixed with electricity. Show me that region on your star charts. Jake pulled up a navigation display. It's about 12 hours away by standard ship. Nothing special about it, just a cluster of asteroids we haven't gotten around to mining yet. He frowned. To this, the mineral composition is pretty unusual. How unusual? Well, most asteroids are just iron, nickel, maybe some rare metals, but these ones, double quotes. Jake highlighted several entries. They show traces of elements I don't even recognize. Our computers classified them as unknown materials. Zara's skin began to pulse with faster patterns of light. Jake, I need you to show me exactly where these asteroids are located. This might be what Keth is looking for. As Jake worked to pull up the detailed coordinates, a soft alarm began beeping from somewhere deep in the station. Both of them froze. That's the environmental system alert, Jake said, his stomach dropping. Something's wrong with the air recycling in Section C. Zara was already moving. That's where the main computer core is located. He's making his move. They abandoned the terminal and began racing through the maintenance tunnels toward Section C. Jake had never moved so fast through these passages, but somehow Zara kept up with him effortlessly. What exactly is Keth trying to do? Jake asked. As they ran, I'm not completely sure, Zara replied, not even breathing hard despite their pace. But if he's found what I think he has, he'll want to transmit the location coordinates to others of his kind. And if that happens, double quotes what? Happens then, instead of one criminal on your station, you could have an entire fleet of them. They reached Section C just as the lights began flickering. Through a maintenance grate, Jake could see into the main computer room. It was chaos. Screens were flashing error messages, and several technicians were running around trying to figure out what was going wrong. Zara whispered, pointing through the grate. At first, Jake didn't see anything unusual. Then his eyes adjusted, and he spotted a figure near the main computer console. From a distance, it looked almost human, but there was something wrong with the way it moved. Too fluid, too quick. That's him? Jake asked. That's Keth. Zara's voice was filled with a mixture of anger and disgust. He's using a biomimetic disguise to look like one of your crew members. As they watched, the figure touched the computer console, and Jake saw something that made his blood run cold. The person's hand seemed to dissolve into the machine, becoming part of it. He's directly interfacing with your computer system, Zara explained. Soon he'll have access to everything, not just the geological data, but your communication systems, navigation, life support, We have to stop him, Jake said. Double quotes. Yes, but carefully. If he realizes we're here too soon, he might panic and do something destructive. Jake studied the layout of the computer room. There's a service entrance behind the main console. If we can get there without being seen, maybe we can surprise him. You have a plan? Sort of. Jake was making it up as he went along, but it felt right. The computers in that room are connected to the emergency shutdown system. If I can get to the manual. Override, I can cut power to the whole section. That should force him to disconnect from the system. And then you do whatever it is that alien bounty hunters do. Zara smiled, and for the first time since he'd met her, Jake saw something that looked like genuine warmth in her expression. Like your plan, she said. But Jake, once we do this, there's no going back. Yes. Keth will know we're here, and he'll know you helped me. That could put you in danger. Jake looked through the grate at the chaos in the computer room, thinking about his friends and coworkers who had no idea what was happening. I'm already in danger, we all are. Ready? Jake took a deep breath. Let's go catch ourselves an alien criminal. Jake's hands were shaking as he crawled through the service tunnel toward the computer room's back entrance. Behind him, Zara moved like a shadow, making no sound at all. The closer they got, the more wrong everything felt. The service hatch was right where Jake remembered it, but when he tried to open it, his access card didn't work. The little light flashed red instead of green. That's not good, he whispered to Zara. Someone's changed the security codes. Keth, Zara replied grimly. He's had more time to study your systems than we thought. Jake pulled out his emergency override tool, a small device that could open any door on the station in case of emergencies. Supervisor had given it to him 2 years ago, and he'd never used it before. The hatch clicked open softly, and Jake peered into the computer room. What he saw made his heart stop. The room was completely empty except for Keth, who was still connected to the main computer. But he wasn't alone anymore. 3 more figures stood around him, and they definitely weren't human. These aliens were different from Zara, bigger, more aggressive looking, with dark skin that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. They wore armor that looked like it was made from some kind of living metal. Zara, Jake breathed. We have a problem. She looked over his shoulder and cursed in her own language. Keth's backup plan. He must have called for help while we were tracking him. What do we do now? Before Zara could answer, Keth suddenly disconnected from the computer and turned toward their hiding spot. His disguise was gone now, revealing his true alien form. He looked similar to Zara, but wrong somehow, like a corrupted version of her people. Well, Keth said in perfect English, his voice carrying an unpleasant echo. The famous Zara finally shows herself. And she brought a little human friend. Jake's blood went cold. They had been discovered. Come out, Keth continued. Of you, there's no point hiding now. Zara looked at Jake and nodded slightly. Together, they climbed out of the service hatch and into the computer room. Jake tried to look braver than he felt. You're too late, Keth said, gesturing to the computer screens around them. I've already found what I was looking for. Know what your precious human mining company has been collecting, Zara? Tell me, Zara replied, her voice steady, despite being outnumbered 4-1. Keth smiled. And it was the most unpleasant expression Jake had ever seen. Crystals that contain pure life energy. The same energy that powers our biointegration technology. Enough crystals to build an army of enhanced soldiers. Jake felt sick. You mean the unknown materials in our geological surveys? It's very good. Little human? Keth turned his attention to Jake. Your people have been mining the building blocks of ultimate power without even knowing it. How wonderfully ignorant. The Council will never allow you to use that technology, Zara said firmly. The Council? Keth laughed. The Council is weak. They make treaties with primitive species instead of taking what they need. But there are others who think differently. One of the other aliens stepped forward. Enough talk. We have the coordinates. Let's destroy this station and leave. Wait, Jake said desperately. You don't have to hurt anyone. Just take the information and go. Keth studied Jake with interest. You know what, human? You're right. We don't have to destroy the station. His smile grew wider. We can do something much more interesting. He touched a device on his wrist. And suddenly, all the computer screens in the room began displaying the same message. System override in progress. What are you doing? Jake demanded. I'm uploading a virus that will spread to every human colony connected to your communication network, Keth explained casually. In a few hours, every computer system in human space will belong to us. Ships, space stations, planetary defenses, everything. Jake felt the world spinning around him. That's genocide. You're talking about wiping out our entire civilization. Wiping out, Keth corrected. Conquering. Your people will make excellent workers once we've adjusted your thinking. Stepped forward, her skin now pulsing with angry red patterns. I won't let you do this. Can't stop us. One of the other aliens said. It's 4 against 1? 4 against 2, Jake corrected, surprising himself with his own boldness. Keth laughed again. A human engineer? What can you possibly do against us? Jake looked around the computer room, his mind racing. Then he remembered something his old professor had told him. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. You're right, Jake said to Keth. I can't fight you, but I know something you don't. And what's that? Jake smiled for the first time since this whole nightmare began. Oh, I know how to turn off the power. Before anyone could stop him, Jake dove toward the emergency shutdown panel on the far wall. Keth lunged after him, but Zara was faster. She tackled the alien criminal, and they crashed into one of the computer consoles. Jake's fingers found the emergency switch and pulled it hard. Instantly, every screen in the room went dark. The lights shut off, leaving them in complete blackness, except for the soft glow coming from the alien's skin. You fool, Keth screamed. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yeah, Jake replied. Breathing hard, I've given us a fighting chance. In the darkness, he heard Zara's voice. Jake, can you get to the communication array from here? Yes, but why? Because now we need to send our own message. If Keth's people are planning to invade human space, the Galactic Council needs to know. The invasion fleet is already on its way, Keth snarled from somewhere in the darkness. Even if you warn them, it won't matter. Jake felt around until he found his emergency flashlight. When he turned it on, he saw Zara holding Keth, while the other 3 aliens surrounded them menacingly. Then we'll have to make it matter, Zara said. Firmly, but how? Jake asked. Zara looked at him, and despite everything, she smiled. Because now you're not just a maintenance engineer anymore, Jake. You're about to become the first human ambassador to the galactic community. What do you mean? I mean, Zara said that we're going to need human help to stop this invasion. And someone needs to speak for your people. Jake stared at her, realizing that his quiet life of fixing pipes and checking air filters was officially over forever. Okay, he said, his voice stronger than he felt. Let's save the galaxy. In the darkness of the computer room, Jake could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. The emergency power hadn't kicked in yet, which meant they had maybe 5 minutes before the backup systems restored Keth's access to the computers. Zara, Jake whispered, can you hold them off while I try to reach the communication array? For a little while, she replied, her voice tense. But Jake, once you send that message, there's no taking it back. You'll be announcing to the entire galaxy that humanity exists and needs help. Jake thought about his friends sleeping peacefully in their quarters, completely unaware that their entire civilization was under threat. He thought about Earth, billions of people going about their daily lives with no idea that aliens even existed. We don't have a choice, he said firmly. He began crawling toward the communication console, using his flashlight sparingly to avoid giving away his position. Behind him, he could hear the sound of a fight beginning, strange electrical crackling, noises, and the crash of equipment being thrown. Around, the communication array was in a separate alcove behind the main computers. Jake had worked on it dozens of times during routine maintenance, so he knew exactly where everything was, even in the dark. His hands found the manual activation switches, and he began the startup sequence. What are you doing over there, human? Keth's voice called out angrily, calling for backup. Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady as he worked. Backup? Your station security couldn't stop a child of my people. Not station security, Jake said, finally getting the communication. Array online. Something bigger. The screens around the communication console flickered to life, casting an eerie blue glow across the room. Jake could see Zara fighting 3 of the aliens at once, moving faster than anything human could move. But even she was beginning to look tired. Jake's fingers flew over the keyboard. entering the emergency broadcast codes that would send a message to every human colony, every ship, every outpost in known space. But then he hesitated. What was he supposed to say? Hello, everyone. Aliens are real, and they're about to invade us? Who would believe that, Jake? Zara called out, dodging an attack from one of Keth's allies. Whatever you're going to do, do it now. Jake took a deep breath and began typing. He decided to keep it simple and direct. This is Jake Chen, maintenance engineer on Titan Station. He spoke into the microphone as he typed. I know this sounds crazy, but we are not alone in the universe. I am currently with a representative of something called the Galactic Council, and we have discovered that hostile alien forces are planning an attack on human space. This is not a joke or a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. He paused, looking at Zara as she continued fighting. The good news is that we have allies out there. People who want to help us. But we need to be ready to help ourselves too. Keth let out a roar of rage. You stupid human. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Yeah, Jake replied, hitting the broadcast button. I've given my people a chance. The message began transmitting to every corner of human space. Jake knew that within hours, it would reach Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, even the deep space exploration ships. Some people would think it was a hoax, but others would start asking questions. Scientists would want proof. Military leaders would want to know about the threat. Suddenly, the room filled with a new sound, a low humming that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The fight stopped as everyone looked around in confusion. What is that? Jake asked Zara. Smiled for the first time since the fight began. That's the sound of my ship's weapons charging. I sent it an automated distress signal before we came in here. Through the room's windows, Jake could see bright lights approaching the station. From outside, not the harsh white lights of human ships, but softer, more colorful illumination that seemed to pulse with life. Council enforcement ships, Zara explained. Looks like my message got through too. Keth and his allies backed toward the far wall, suddenly looking much less confident. This isn't over, Keth snarled. My people will still come. Your message won't stop them. Maybe not, Zara admitted. But it will warn them that humanity isn't defenseless. It will bring the Council into this conflict officially. Jake watched as more alien ships appeared outside the station. Some looked like Zara's sleek vessel, but others were completely different. Geometric shapes that defied human understanding. Clouds of energy that moved like living things, structures that seemed to be made of crystallized light. Said softly, you need to understand something. Your life is about to change in ways you can't imagine. It's the message you just sent. It will make you famous across the galaxy. You'll be known as the human who made first contact. Jake looked at her, then at the alien ships outside, and back at the communication console where his message was still broadcasting. Will you help me? He asked. I don't know anything about galactic politics or alien cultures. I'm just an engineer who fixes things. That's exactly why you're perfect for this job, Zara replied. You solve problems. You think practically. Most importantly, you're brave enough to do what's right even when you're scared. The Council enforcement officers entered the room, beings that looked nothing like either Zara or Keth. They moved with quiet authority, quickly surrounding and restraining the criminals. One of them approached Jake and spoke in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. Are you the human who sent the warning message? Yes, sir, Jake replied. Not sure if sir was the right term, but figuring politeness couldn't hurt. The Council would like to meet with you. There are things we need to discuss about your species and your future in the galactic community. Jake looked around the room one more time at the alien officers. At Keth being led away, at Zara watching him with an expression of pride and encouragement. 6 hours ago, he had been a simple maintenance engineer whose biggest worry was a faulty air filter. Now he was apparently about to become humanity's first representative to an alien government. Okay, he said, surprising himself with how calm he sounded. Let's go meet the galaxy. As they prepared to leave the station, Zara walked beside him. You ready for this? She asked. Jake thought about it for a moment. No, he said honestly. But I don't think anyone could be ready for something like this. I guess we'll just have to figure it out as we go. That, Zara said with a smile, is the most human thing you could possibly say. And it's exactly why I think your species is going to do just fine out here. Outside the station, the stars looked different to Jake now. Not empty and distant, but full of possibilities and friends he hadn't met yet.